and falling down flat on my face and saying, God, whatever you want will do. And God spoke so powerfully in my heart, and he said, I called you to work for me full time as a child, and you've gone away from that. But it was that moment, that day, that God renewed that call and cracked through my heart that had so much busyness of church in it that I felt like I was doing his will, when really what I was doing was just making myself feel better. I remember as a little kid living in a suburb of San Diego, we had a big liquid amber tree out in the front yard, and maybe fall was finally there. I would go out and climb this tree with my pocket knife and in my pocket and a leather belt on, a little leather pouch on with something in it. I get to the top of the tree and I could look out over this city up to the mountains, and there was a yearning and a longing to be out where nobody was. And our desire when it came to missions has always been to be somewhere where there wasn't somebody already there doing something. But we didn't know of anybody that was working along the borders of Iran and Iraq and Syria and Turkey.
And what was it like when you landed?
Man, unbelievable. In this little ghost town riddled with terrorism and people that were lonely and hurting and longing for God, we had an opportunity to build a bridge and to love on them. And it just fulfilled every sense I'd ever had as a kid. It wasn't until after we got here and got to know the people and fell in love with them that we realized that what we had longed to do, what God had put in our hearts, was to live among them, loving them just for who they were, without trying to be finger pointers or head waggers.
We had seen God do miraculous things, and we had seen the blind see and the lame healed. But we've not led one to the Lord. And we knew something had to move. And we finally just went to God and said, whatever it takes, we are willing. We're here for a reason, use us. And God very gently just kept saying, it's gonna come at a cost.
We didn't know what it would be. We thought, that'll be my mother-in-law maybe. Sorry. We didn't know what the sacrifice would be, but every day we laid everything on the altar. Our family, our reputation, our plans, our hopes, our dreams, we laid all of it on the altar, saying, God, do whatever it takes to break the hold that Satan has on Turks. When this popped up, we realized immediately what the sacrifice was. It's hard to think of leaving your children fatherless and your wife a widow. It's hard for my wife to get ready for Christmas thinking this may be the last Christmas we have as a foursome. But God whispered into our ears, live this dying out loud. No false courage, no false faith, no false hope. Good days out loud, bad days out loud. It's like a treasure chest on our shoulders that we get to carry in front of these people, and we pray that if they grieve over my sickness, they will be met by Jesus Christ, who will step into their lives. I started showing symptoms. We just thought it was some fluke. They thought it was pneumonia at first, and then we went from pneumonia to stage 4 terminal cancer in about 10 minutes in the hospital. But there was an ocean of grace that we stepped into, a cloak of peace. We didn't miss a step. Out in the villages, they'll pray for me today that God, it would be His will to heal me. That's the corner of the fabric that I wish you could see of what being a Muslim really is. There are bad Muslims and there are bad Christians, and Muslims will say, well, the bad ones aren't really Muslims, and the Christians will say, well, the bad ones aren't really Christians. But it's the view we have in America that Muslims are terrorists, that they love violence. It's not our experience. They are people that have invited our family into their hearts and homes in a way that we as Americans have never done to anybody else. They would die for us. My Muslim brothers are weeping over my sickness. My heart is that our churches would weep over their lostness, that our church boards would spend more time in prayer and less time in debate. Because if we had an element of the concern and care that Muslims have for us in our churches today, we would reach the world within a decade. These are people that deserve our efforts. They are people that deserve every possible sacrifice that we can possibly offer to reach, because they are truly loved of God. On Monday, I got a phone call from one of the shops near the mosque, and it says, "Can you come down here? The imam has left a gift for you." I walked down to this shop, and there in the corner on a stool was a package for me. On the top of it, it said Isa, which is the Arabic name, the Turkish Islamic name for Jesus. And I asked the shop owner, I said, "What is this? Why does it say Jesus on top of it?" And he got kind of embarrassed, and he said, "You know, your name, Stan, is so hard for us to say. They pronounce it Satan. So he just always calls you Jesus." And I picked the package up and left very quickly, because I began to weep on the way home that I was the only Jesus this imam had ever met. And the thoughts went to the back of my head, what a poor, poor Jesus you have been to him. And yet I was the Jesus that God had chosen to show him. That's the first time we felt like we were cutting through the darkness, like we were doing anything. We have seen Turks grieve like we've never seen them grieve before, as they think about the fact that I'm going to die. And now we see the value of this cancer. We see the value of this talent that God has given us to be able to live out loud how to die as a Christian, how to die with hope, and how to die with trust and confidence that we're going to spend eternity with Jesus, when they have no hope. And they look at us and they can't even begin to talk about burial or the end days for me, because they're so scared of dying. And so we have this opportunity. I feel like we have this one shot here to do this right, to die with a godly courage and with godly peace in front of these people, and show them that there is another way of living. There's another way of dying.
So I look at the vastness of this job. I wondered, how can it be done? We're just blue-collar workers called from the pew that said we'd go, and realize that God can use us. And I'm going to choose to believe.